Now on CoastTV News.
Hate crime hearing. We look ahead to the day in court for two former Millville firefighters facing felony charges.
Burn ban begins, the do's and don'ts in Delaware on day one of the restriction.
Classics hit coast. Slow speeds for hot rods as Cruisin' OC kicks off today.
A bit cooler today for Delmarva with the flow coming off the ocean. Temperatures in the 70s, cooler 60s at the beaches. The 80s return on Friday and last into a part of the weekend. That's when rain chances increase. I'll track it on Futurecast coming up next.
This is CoastTV News Today.
And it is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. Good morning. I'm Matt Pensick.
And good morning. I'm Elisa Weber. Thank you for joining us for our 5 o'clock hour.
We got a new day. We got a new month to play in.
I'm going to test your pop culture knowledge.
Ooh.
Do you know the meme that's always around this day?
I saw something like, don't say it, it's May, but I don't get it.
It's a singer.
Okay.
Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
They have the song.
Yeah.
It's going to be May.
Okay.
And that meme.
Going to be May.
You're going to see that meme a lot today, I think.
All right.
But yeah, so now you know.
That's why you're here. You're here to
You are
educate me and our
welcome.
viewers on the pop
Yes.
culture meme,
Well,
social media
our
scene.
pop culture expert is first alert meteorologist Bob Trihey, so we just need to bring him in now, right now.
Bob, you got a promotion.
That is my other job, actually, meme expert. But Lisa, I thought you were actually talking about the fourth day of May. May the 4th be with you. But yeah, happy May Day, everybody. No emergency. We're looking at cooler conditions this morning with 50s and low 60s, 60 in Georgetown, 59 in Millsboro, 60 in Ocean City, 57 in Bethany Beach and Rehoboth. Our flow now coming in out of the east, so that will keep us a little cooler today, lower that fire danger a little bit too as we're looking at partly cloudy skies. We have a few clouds back to the west right now, but we've got high pressure to the north and the flow is coming in out of the east, so that will keep us a little cooler while the nastier weather is back to our west. So Futurecast this morning has us in the 50s. By mid-morning, a few clouds and cool 50s at the coast. You can see the arrows pointing in off the ocean, indicating that cooler flow. And then 60s inland. By noon, we're into the low 70s inland areas with 50s and 60s at the coast. I think we could start to see an increase in clouds as we go into the middle of the afternoon. 70s inland, but cooler along the coast. Some of you may not get out of the 50s with the cloud cover. And it's good. It's good to get a break from the warmth, and we'll see that today with low 70s inland, cooler at the beaches. But the 80s return Friday, last into a part of the weekend, and so do the rain chances as well. In fact, the rain could stick around for several days. I'll talk about that in my full forecast a little bit later in the newscast.
All right, thank you, Bob. And our top story this half hour, and scheduled to take place this morning, the preliminary hearing of the two now former members of the Millville Volunteer Fire Company who are facing hate crime charges. Last week, CoastTV exclusively obtained court documents that claim in 2024, Jay Droney chased the victim with a noose and calling him a racial slur several times. According to those documents, Jordan Hastings filmed the incident on Snapchat. Both are facing felony charges.
And both Droney and Hastings had left the Millville department prior to this story coming to light, and here's what has happened since. The Millville Volunteer Fire Company says it is implementing harassment and discrimination prevention programs. Earlier this month, Droney joined the La Palazza Volunteer Fire Company in Maryland, and he's now on suspension. The preliminary hearing at the Sussex County Court of Common Pleas in Georgetown is scheduled for this morning at 9 a.m.
And later this morning, we're expecting an update on Fenwick Island's work on a nature preserve. It's one of the few pieces of undeveloped land left in the town. Fenwick Island's Green Infrastructure Working Group has scheduled time to learn about Oakey Preserve's landscaping. It was just a few weeks ago that Environmental Committee member Deborah Cowell asked Town Council, paying nearly $2,000 to landscape architect Carol Anderson Ostra for a plan and rendering. The hope is to have a dedication ceremony this fall.
Overall, in Sussex County, finding that balance between land preservation and development continues to be a focal point. This morning, the Land Use Reform Group is planning to pick up on this topic. That group is hoping to have a draft of recommendations completed by June that ultimately leads to the proposed ordinances coming from the Sussex County Council.
New this morning, Delaware Governor Matt Meyer is ready to sign an executive order creating the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety. This office will operate under the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Meyer claims it will use data-driven policy in the effort to reducing gun-related injuries and deaths. The signing is scheduled for 9 a.m. at Legislative Hall.
Starting today, the Delaware burn ban season goes into effect, and we drove around yesterday through Georgetown and other places in Milton, and we saw grass that was very dry. On your screen right now, you can see the difference in that grass color. Denrick says the burn ban is critical to improve the air quality. Fire officials say these types of burning allowed during the ban includes campfires in designated camping areas, cooking fires such as grills and barbecues.
Just be mindful of that if you're cooking near a house, siding, vinyl siding, those sort of things are extremely flammable, decks and that sort of thing. So just be mindful of your surroundings and have some means of extinguishment nearby.
And for now, the open burn ban is in effect through September 30th.
Getting a live look now at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., where inside that building just a few hours ago, Vice President Vance had to break a tie vote in the Senate, blocking an attempt to stop President Trump's global tariffs. The Trump administration also dealing with a shrinking GDP.
NBC's Alice Barr shows us Democrats are pouncing on the news, saying the president has failed to make life more affordable.
It's going to be about 40%.
Under pressure from some troubling economic news, a Commerce Department report showing the U.S. economy shrank slightly during the first 3 months of the year. President Trump shifting blame.
That's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is quarterly numbers.
It was a quarter during which President Trump was in office for all but 20 days, and when economists say businesses rushed to buy imports before tariffs kicked in, dragging down U.S. production. Surveys also showing consumer confidence down.
Taking a hit in what Americans expect in the next 6 months. We're talking business conditions, employment prospects, and future income as well.
In some of her most high-profile comments since her election loss, former Vice President Kamala Harris saying President Trump owns this economy and his policy moves.
Tariffs that, as I predicted, are clearly inviting a recession.
The president acknowledging his triple-digit tariffs on China could cause shortages of some goods and higher prices.
Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally.
While insisting the payoff will be worth it, pointing to new investments in U.S. manufacturing.
They're really coming in fast.
Overnight, an effort to roll back President Trump's tariffs failed.
Motion to table is agreed to.
In the Senate, though it did have some bipartisan support. The president urging increasingly anxious Americans to be patient as he works to reshape global trade. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Happening in Maryland, the state police says it will conduct statewide DUI patrols this weekend, which is Cinco de Mayo weekend, including Berlin, Salisbury, Easton, and Prince Anne barracks. This is a focus on routes 13 and 15 and state routes 404 and 413. According to the Maryland Department of Transportation, on average, 158 lives are lost as a result of impaired driving.
Today is day one of the 35th annual Cruisin' OC, a special event zone already in effect in the town with lower speeds and higher fines for traffic violations. According to organizers, this event will feature over 3,000 hot rods, custom classics, and trucks, along with live music acts, including Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. Cruisin' OC runs through May 4th.
We're just getting started in this hour of CoastTV News Today.
Coming up, Bucks for Brews, the money that is funneled to Maryland's craft breweries and wineries.
Also, ID Deadline, we look at the challenges you could face at airports under this new policy.
And next, a world of difference, the positive effect of the simple act of boxing up shoes in Ocean Pines. Stay with us on CoastTV News Today.
It started out as a group of friends just walking around a neighborhood together, but it turned into a movement. And now it's worldwide, making a difference one shoe at a time. In today's Coastal Connections, reporter Kevin Zappe shows us what this group is doing and how you can help.
If you check your closets, you might find some forgotten shoes taking up space, but now those shoes can be used for good. You can hand them over to the Teal Bay Mitzvah team in Ocean Pines.
I think so far we've shipped out about 150 pairs in total.
Since March, Margaret Novak and her friends have been working with the Souls for Souls nonprofit organization to get shoe donations, which will provide footwear to people in need across the U.S. and around the world.
Third world countries where small micro entrepreneurs receive them and set up businesses to sell them, and these people now have a sustainable income. They go to crisis areas, many in the United States.
So where can you donate your shoes to make a difference? There are locations all spread out around Ocean Pines where you could drop off your shoes. From there, the Mitzvah team will put them in boxes, tape them up, load them in a car, and drop them off at Michael's, where they will then be sent over to Souls for Souls for good use. Novak loves all the support from Ocean Pines and hopes to see more in the future.
They can all play a role. They can all help by dropping off their shoes. And we're getting ready for the summer. It's wonderful here. But we can live here and still make a difference in the world.
On May 17th, they will be at the Ocean Pines season kickoff event where they'll be gathering more donations and reminding people that small things like a pair of shoes can make a world of difference. I'm Kevin Zapay in Ocean Pines, Coast TV News.
Time is 5:15. We're getting a live look at a quiet scene from the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach, looking out to the Atlantic Ocean. You just see the hints of the sunrise coming up, Bob. And we're also tracking what could be a little cooler day than what we've experienced the last few days this week.
I think so, Matt, and a beautiful start to the day there on that camera, by the way, as you mentioned. And yeah, a little cooler out there as we go through the day. Could take the edge off the fire danger temporarily with an easterly flow, 70s inland, 60s at the coast with the onshore flow with sun and clouds. But then the 80s are back tomorrow, and so is the wind. And it could be unsettled as we go into the weekend with a prolonged period of rain. We'll take a look at that in a second. 59 in Millsboro, 60 in Georgetown, 61 in Delmar. So a light jacket out the door. That's about it. 60 in Ocean City, 57 in Rehoboth right now. As we have an easterly wind, it's light right now. It'll be pretty light during the day, but it'll definitely feel cooler at the beaches today with that wind coming right off the ocean. We are seeing partly to mostly cloudy skies moving into the region. That'll be the case today. And here's this flow coming in out of the east-southeast. That's around high pressure to the north, and that will be a cooler flow for today. And then we're looking to the west, where there's a lot of messy weather across the northern high plains with showers and storms across the upper Midwest, and then bigger storms too back through the Gulf Coast. This whole messy system will start to head our way as we go into the weekend. Here's Futurecast this morning. We had that easterly flow, temperatures in the 50s and 60s, mid-morning into the mid-60s inland, but at the beach is cooler today with 50s and 60s. Some places not getting out of the 50s here, but inland we're in the low to maybe middle 70s around the Seaford area, around 70 in Millsboro. Then that wind shifting to the southeast, a few more clouds this evening, and then that wind shifting more to the southwest tomorrow morning, and that's going to bring in that warmer air. So we're in the mid to upper 60s tomorrow morning with cloudy skies, and then we're shooting up into the 80s very quickly tomorrow. Cooler at the coast, mid 80s into the afternoon, and there are some indications we could see a spotty shower or thunderstorm into tomorrow evening, but right now that's looking kind of slight, as we are seeing that east-southeast wind today becoming more southerly and then southwesterly as we go into tomorrow. In fact, we're looking at winds gusting over 30 miles per hour at times, as it will be very warm and breezy. Some question marks as we go into the future. Sunday through Tuesday, a cutoff low to our west, I think, will be rotating in areas of rain as we go through Sunday into Tuesday. Now, I think much of Saturday is dry, but then Saturday evening we start to increase that chance for showers as that flow picks up off the ocean. And we'll be looking at periodic showers as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even into a part of Wednesday as well. That would definitely help lower the fire danger in that time period. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 73 today, mostly cloudy, 84, lots of clouds Friday, maybe a late day shower or storm, 83 Saturday, and then the rain begins, I think, on Sunday, 74. Looks like a wet Cinco de Mayo, 71 degrees. I think the rain continues into Tuesday with mid-70s, maybe some showers early Wednesday, otherwise 76 and a mix of sun and clouds. Congratulations to umbrella giveaway winner today, Jeff Kimball from Milton, and he has a brand new umbrella from Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling and Coast TV.
Thank you, Bob. Time is running out if you still have not secured your Real ID. If you don't have a Real ID or another accepted form of identification, such as a passport, you can face delays at airport security. You can expect additional screening and the possibility of not being allowed beyond the security checkpoint if your identity cannot be verified there. The Department of Homeland Security is set to enforce that deadline starting May 7th.
Last night, a discussion on substance use and abuse. It was a collaboration with BB Healthcare and SoundCheck Prevention. SoundCheck is a substance abuse prevention organization, and they had a presentation followed by a Q&A session at Cape Henlopen High School, allowing both students and parents to be involved.
I was enticed to come because it said, you know, come and talk, let's talk about what the latest research says, what's available information here, more information to be able to talk to my kids. I have 2 daughters, and one is about to graduate high school, but they'll continue to be young adults, and as they're being, you know, launched into the world, if you will, it would be important for me to be able to talk with them in the language that is today's language.
Students have shown interest in getting involved. Were invited to join the Health and Wellness Committee at Cape Henlopen High School to help plan future events. Still ahead, relief from reopen as traffic is flowing once again on a key road in Milton.
And Cash for Craft, the government program in Maryland providing taxpayer money to local breweries and wineries. Stay with us on Coast TV News Today.
In Maryland, taxpayer money being used to help promote the state's wine and craft beer industry. Governor Wes Moore announcing a recent round of grant awards. Maryland Wineries Association receiving over $500,000, over $200,000 to the Brewers Association. According to the governor's office, the state has over 80 wineries and 143 craft breweries.
This morning, traffic is flowing again on Round Pole Bridge Road in Milton. After 5-week closure, crews built an entranceway to new housing subdivision, but that work became a big inconvenience for people living in the area. Some that we spoke to said the inability to use that part of the road had a big increase on their drive time. Coast TV spoke with DelDOT's Director of Communications, C.R. McLeod, about the reopening.
There still will be additional paving that's needed, but we're gonna reopen it to local traffic so that that they can begin using the road again.
As a part of the project, a new bus stop was created at the corner of Round Pole Bridge Road and Cape Neck Road. Matt's a little cooler at the beach today. Probably a good idea to bring a jacket.
Yeah, probably keep you a little bit warmer than when you experience. I know we've been able to go with short sleeves, maybe shorts the last couple of days, especially with the 70s. But Bob, I think you're tracking some temperatures in the 60s today along the coast.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like jeans, windbreaker kind of a situation at the beach, guys, because we will be looking at that easterly wind that will make it feel cooler than it actually is. So only around 60 in Ocean City with a marine layer moving in. We could actually see some fog and low clouds later in the day there. Similar conditions in Fenwick Island with lower 60s. Waves around 2 to 4 feet and UV index moderate. A few white caps heading up to Cape May from Lewis on the ferry with mid-60s with sun and clouds, and I think more clouds into this evening. Similar conditions for Rehoboth. A little cooler for you. Maybe lower 60s by the evening hours on the Bayside. 1 to 2 foot waves. Upper 70s later this afternoon in Cambridge, so a little warmer there, but a little cooler in Crisfield with a mix of sun and clouds and lower 70s. We do warm it up Friday into a part of the weekend. That's when the rain chances increase, and they could be sticking around for several days after that. I'll have more in your forecast coming up in the next half hour.
Break on Coast TV News today, dry grass danger, what is in effect during Delaware's statewide burn ban.
Also, coastline conversation. Local organizations seek solutions for protection against weather events.
And first responders face charges. The hearing scheduled for this morning involving 2 former members of the Millville Volunteer Fire Company. Coast TV News Today returns in a moment.
Now on Coast TV News.
Hate crime hearing. We look ahead to the day in court for 2 former Millville firefighters facing felony charges.
Burn ban begins, the do's and don'ts in Delaware on day 1 of the restriction.
Classics hit coast. Slow speeds for hot rods as Cruisin' OC kicks off today.
A bit cooler today for Delmarva with the flow coming off the ocean. Temperatures in the 70s, cooler 60s at the beaches. The 80s return on Friday and last into a part of the weekend. That's when rain chances increase. I'll track it on Futurecast coming up next.
This is Coast TV News Today.
May 1st, 2025. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Pensick. Good morning, Elisa.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning. I'm Elisa Weber. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we're about to hit 5:29 on this Thursday morning. A big, long new month begins today.
And the unofficial start of summer is at the end of May.
Yes.
Memorial Day weekend.
I always count that as the
Yes.
unofficial start to summer.
I've heard
yes.
you're a big fan of Memorial Day weekends.
Huge.
You're probably counting down the days.
I look forward to it every year.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, we've had a taste of summer the past 2
Yes.
days with weather. Today a little bit cooler, but I'll take 60 degrees as being cooler weather. So I'm good with that.
Good morning, Matt and Elisa. Yeah, we've had several tastes of summer so far this spring season. Now we get a break again today. Out the door, we're looking at temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s. Upper 50s from Bethany Beach to Rehoboth, 59 in Millsboro, 60 in Georgetown and Delmar right now at 62. So not too bad out the door this morning. Just grab a windbreaker. We're looking at an easterly wind that's pretty light now, and that wind will be picking up, and that will be a cool wind as we're looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies right now. Nothing in the way of precipitation, but the flow is coming in off the ocean. We have high pressure to the north, and that will be a cooler flow today, maybe knocking down that fire danger just a little bit and giving us a break from the warmth. That's temporary because the warm air is lurking to the south of this warm front, and then that will be building back in tomorrow. Futurecast this morning, though, temperatures in the 50s with that easterly flow. We'll see some clouds from time to time and warming up through the morning hours. By 12:30 at the beaches, we're in the 50s to around 60 degrees, but then low to mid 70s well inland. And then as we go into the afternoon, we could see some low clouds or fog moving in with 50s and 60s at the coast, and then temperatures cooling down inland areas as well. For the kids at the bus stop this morning off to school, not too bad, cool and dry, temperature of 59. And then heading home, I think we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, mild and dry conditions, 73, maybe a little bit of fog at the coast as we head towards the evening hours.
Our top story this morning, scheduled to take place this morning, the preliminary hearing of the two now former members of the Millville Volunteer Fire Company who are facing hate crime charges. Last week, CoastTV exclusively obtained court documents that claim in 2024, Jay Droney chased the victim with a noose and calling him a racial slur several times. According to those documents, Jordan Hastings filmed that incident on Snapchat, and both are now facing felony charges.
Yeah, both Droney and Hastings, they had departed the Millville company prior to this story coming to light. Here is what has occurred since. The Millville Volunteer Fire Company says it is implementing harassment and discrimination prevention programs. Earlier this month, Droney joined the La Plata Volunteer Fire Department in Maryland. He's now on suspension. The preliminary hearing at the Sussex County Court of Common Pleas in Georgetown scheduled for 9 this morning.
Later this morning, we are expecting an update on Fenwick Island's work on Nature Preserve. It's one of the few pieces of undeveloped land left in the town. Fenwick Island's Green Infrastructure Working Group has scheduled time to learn about Oakey Preserve's landscaping. It was just a few weeks ago that the Environmental Committee member, Deborah Cowell, asked Town Council to pay nearly $2,000 to landscape architect Carol Anderson Osta for a plan and rendering. The hope is to have a dedication ceremony this fall.
Happening today in Delaware, burn bans in effect. According to state officials, the ban is in effect May 1st to September 30th. And this means burning almost anything is just about prohibited. The purpose of the bans are to prevent wildfires, but DNREC says the ban is also critical in improving air quality. And DNREC says this time of year is also known as ozone season.
Today, the Delaware Center for Inland Bays is hosting Coast Forward, a one-day summit as a part of its 2-year-long Southern Delaware Coastal Resilience Plan. That event will run from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The day will begin with a partners meeting from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., featuring a series of roundtable conversations focused on both short and long-term solutions to severe weather events. From 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., that summit will open its doors to the public for an open house. This portion is designed to connect the community members and provide valuable resources.
Now taking a live look at Washington, D.C., Senate lawmakers inside that building there had voted down a resolution to block President Trump's global tariffs. The vote stalled in a tie, 49-49, meaning Vice President Vance voted to break the tie, killing the Democratic motion. The bipartisan measure, which needed a simple majority to pass, was designed to terminate the national emergency that President Trump declared to implement his tariffs. Even if it had passed, the measure likely wouldn't have been taken up in the GOP-controlled House. The White House said that President Trump would have vetoed the resolution if it did indeed reach his desk.
Round Pole Bridge Road in Milton was closed for construction as crews built an entranceway to a new housing subdivision. This pushed 14 people to send a letter to DelDOT and Sussex County Planning and Zoning, urging them to open one lane at a time. As CoastTV reporter Zakia Jennings shows us, although that road is reopened, the issue is still far from over.
A closed-off gravel road is now a freshly paved road in Milton. A portion of Round Pole Bridge Road was closed off for weeks, something people living nearby called a nightmare.
It was an inconvenience that didn't have to happen.
Anthony Esposito, a dad and volunteer firefighter, says the reopening of the road is bittersweet.
After just about 5 weeks of having to waste a lot of time, we're back in business and can go about our normal days.
Esposito says he couldn't respond to fire calls if he were at home during the 5-week period. If he did, his 5-minute trip would turn into 15 minutes.
You're a first responder, not a 10th responder.
Janet Ledegabel created the open letter that urged DelDOT and Sussex County Planning and Zoning to open one lane at a time rather than close the road that quickly connects them to Route 1.
It was the developer's convenience to close the road so that they didn't have to get, or maybe perhaps DelDOT. So DelDOT would not have to hire flaggers or pay flaggers to keep half the road open so the residents could go in and out.
CoastTV spoke with DelDOT's Director of Community Relations, C.R. McLeod, about the reopening.
There still will be additional paving that's needed, but we're gonna reopen it to local traffic so that that they can begin using the road again.
Esposito says he hopes by speaking out that people in other communities won't have to, quote, hurt the way they did.
DelDOT let them have their own way, and now the residents of Round Pole had to pay for it.
Ledegabel says she's working to make sure this does not happen to anyone again.
I will get Russ Huxtable and Jane Brunenbaum and the rest of County Council and Planning and Zoning in sync with knowing that this should have been avoided.
A sigh of relief as traffic flows once again on Round Pole Bridge Road in Milton. In Milton, Zakia Jennings, Coast TV News.
This just in, the world's largest passenger plane is now making daily flights between Munich, Germany and Denver, Colorado. On Wednesday, the Lufthansa Airbus A380 made its first round trip from Munich to Denver International Airport, and this is the first time that airport has launched a flight with an aircraft of this size. The massive airliner has 509 seats. It offers more premium seats than any other aircraft, with 8 seats in first class, 78 in business class, 52 seats are in premium economy.
In Sussex County, finding that balance between land preservation and development continues to be a focal point. This morning, the Land Use Reform Group is planning to pick up on this topic. That group is hoping to have a draft of recommendations completed by June that ultimately lead to proposed ordinances coming from the Sussex County Council.
Today's day one of the 35th annual Cruise and OC event. Special event zone is already in effect in the town with lower speeds and higher fines for traffic violations. According to organizers, this event features over 3,000 hot rods, customs, classics, and trucks. There's also live music acts, including Mickey Dolenz and the Monkees. Cruise and OC runs through May 4th.
In Cambridge, City Manager Glenn Steckman will have office hours on Saturday, May 3rd at City Hall. He will be available from 9 a.m. to noon, and you can either stop by or email him to make an appointment. Glenn says he's looking to make Saturday office hours a monthly occasion for people unable to get to City Hall during the week.
Got a lot more news to get to. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up after the break, Prevention Push. BB and Kay Penlopen team up to help families talk to teens about the dangers of drug use.
Also, Caps take care of business. They close out the Canadians and now look ahead to round 2 in the NHL playoffs.
And budget talks continue tonight in Bridgeville. We'll tell you which department is driving one of the biggest expenses in the town. Stay with us on Coast TV News today.
5:40 on this quiet Thursday morning. Irish Eyes Cam and Lewis showing some clouds and some blue skies too, and temperatures into the 50s and 60s, so not too bad out the door right now. We do have an easterly wind that will keep us cooler today, especially at the beaches, as we're looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies right now, and that easterly flow will be kicking in as we go through the day, keeping us cooler but dry today. And it looks like the warmth returns tomorrow and the rain by the weekend. Here's your ferry riding forecast. Looking at temperatures in the low to mid 60s this morning on the ferry. Not too bad, and light winds, maybe some little whitecaps. That's about it. Call the Coast TV First Alert weather phone. It's sponsored by the law offices of Brockstead, Mandalis, Federico.
Talks continuing tonight in Bridgeville ahead of finalizing its fiscal year 2026 budget. The current budget allowed for over $3 million in expenses, with the police department accounting for over 1/3 of that. The current fiscal year ends on June 30th. The Town Commission workshop is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. tonight.
If you love wine, food, and music, listen up. The 9th Annual Southern Delaware Wine, Food, and Music Festival is this Saturday, May 3rd. It will be at Shellville in Rehoboth Beach, and more than 20 local restaurants will be serving food, and there will be over 100 tastings of wine, cocktails, craft beer, and mocktails. This year's beneficiaries are Sussex County Habitat for Humanity and the Harry K. Foundation.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
We head to the courts for some boys volleyball in Georgetown. The Delmarva Christian Royals and the MOT Charter Mustangs went the distance last night. Royals up 2-1, but Cohen Gangs brings the Mustangs back with a powerful kill. They win the frame and send us to a winner-take-all fifth set. In the fifth, Royals up 14-12. It's match point, and Harrison Schlebach wins it for the Royals. Delmarva Christian takes a thriller 3-2. Season 3 of Into the Trenches continues tonight with episode 2. We saw how the Vikings competed through training camp in preparation of their upcoming season. Now let's take a sneak peek at what to expect in episode 2.
On the next Into the Trenches.
You know, he's a de facto leader, right, whether or not he wants to be.
I've been playing quarterback my whole life, and I've always had to be a leader. I know they don't like what happened last year.
But the only way you're going to win is if we show them the brotherhood that we have been building since Coach Fred took this team over.
We're going we over me, we over me.
Into the Trenches, a new voyage on the Delmarva Sports Network and DSN Plus, sponsored by Preston Automotive.
Make sure to download the DSN app and subscribe to DSN Plus for updates on all of our spring sports action. That'll do it for sports. Have a great day, everyone.
And here's what's coming up today on DSN at 4. We've got Bayside Conference softball when Decatur travels to Mardella. You saw in the trenches there, and that's followed by the final score. On the DSN Plus app, you get that softball game along with the Bayside Conference baseball matchup. North Dorchester and Colonel Richardson. Henlopen Conference Baseball 4:15. Sussex Tech hosts Laurel, and Sussex Central is home with Indian River. And high school softball, Lake Forest travels to Smyrna. Last night in the district, Tom Wilson puts the puck in the net in the second period. It led to a Capitals Game 5 win over the Canadians, and for the first time in 7 years, the Caps are moving on in the NHL playoffs, taking this series 4-1.
We had control of the series from game 1, which was great. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs, but take game 1, take game 2, obviously a bit of a crazy game 3, and then right back to business. So there's ups and downs in a playoff series, but I think for the most part we were pretty focused and we were pretty diligent, and we went out and got the job done.
It's on to the second round for the Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. We are still waiting on a date and a time for Game 1. We do know it will be at home in D.C.
If you're having a rough week, you can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV with personal features, fun things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up right now for free at coasttv.com and get your weekly dose of joy directly to your inbox on Friday.
Clouds are plentiful right now in the Dry Tech Cam in Ocean City, 60 degrees. It will be cooler for you today. In fact, cooler for everybody as we have an easterly flow developing, and it will keep us cooler for today. But then we do have a warm up on the way as we go into Friday and parts of the weekend. And then we're looking at rain developing, I think, into the weekend. I'll have your full forecast details coming up after the break. Stay tuned.
5:47, and we are taking a live look outside at Rehoboth Beach this morning. Bob, it's a cooler morning, but we see a beautiful sunrise, which always means there'll be a little bit of warmth from that sun. But 60 degrees, if that's cool, I'll take it. I'm good with that.
I think we will, Lisa.
Yes.
And it will be cooler at the beaches today and inland areas as well. So we do get a break from the 80-degree warmth for one day. So slightly cooler today with that onshore flow. 60s at the coast, 70s inland. It's back into the 80s on Friday. That's ahead of a cold front. Maybe a late day storm is possible. I wouldn't cancel the outdoor plans with an unsettled weekend into next week. I think there's a good chance with an upper level low to our west, and that will keep clouds and rain in the forecast for several days. Out the door this morning, 50s and 60s. 60 in Lewis, 57 from Hobart down to Bethany Beach, 60 in Ocean City, 62 in Gumboro. Millsboro at 59. We do have an easterly flow, which will keep us cooler, especially at the coast. Make sure you have that heavier jacket as we go through the day. Right now, we're seeing partly cloudy skies, some thicker clouds back to the west, so partly to mostly cloudy today with that onshore flow continuing with high pressure to the north, but it will keep us dry as we do have active weather back to the west. We're watching low pressure across the northern plains with showers and storms here, then a front and more activity near Louisiana and into Arkansas as well. This whole system will be sliding to the east just in time for the weekend. Not the best timing, but it looks like rain chances increasing then. This morning, we're in the 50s with that easterly wind, and then 60s inland mid-morning with 50s at the coast. It's going to be a slow climb here with that easterly flow. We're in the mid to upper 50s around the noon hour, but well inland, lower 70s from Salisbury up to Georgetown. Then as we go into the mid-afternoon, you see what looks to be low clouds maybe moving into the coastal areas and parts of inland areas too, and maybe a little bit of fog too, and that will definitely keep it cooler with 50s and 60s there and 60s inland as we go through the evening hours. As we go through the overnight, clouds increasing and the winds turning more out of the southwest. That means a very mild start Friday morning with temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Shortly afternoon, we're looking at low 80s away from the coast, 60s and 70s at the beaches, and with the warm temperatures in place, we could be looking at a slight chance of a shower as we go into the afternoon and evening hours, so keep that in mind for your Friday evening plans as we're looking at maybe a little bumpy weather at that time. But east-southeast winds today, not too strong, up to about 20 miles per hour, become more southwesterly as we go into tomorrow, and they will get gusty over 30 miles per hour into the afternoon hours. Then we're watching an upper-level low developing to our west as we go into Sunday through Tuesday, so rain and showers periodically, basically for a few days, as we're looking at a mainly dry Saturday. But then Saturday night into Sunday, we start to increase those rain chances. And as that flow comes in out of the southeast, we'll see more of that rain basically Monday, Tuesday, and maybe into Wednesday morning as well. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 73 today, mostly cloudy skies, 84 on Friday as the warmth is back. That continues into Saturday with a high of 83. Rain picks up in intensity on Sunday, 74. Looks like a wet Cinco de Mayo on Monday, 71, and we keep it unsettled through Tuesday, then drier and milder into Wednesday.
Thank you, Bob. Wednesday evening, the Cape stores for students and parents to have a discussion about substance use and abuse. The event was a collaboration with BB Healthcare and Soundcheck Prevention, Substance Abuse Prevention Organization. They had a presentation followed by a Q&A session, allowing both students and parents to be involved.
I was enticed to come because it said, you know, come and talk, let's talk about what the latest research says, what's available information here, more information to be able to talk to my kids. I have two daughters, and one is about to graduate high school, but they'll continue to be young adults, and as they're being, you know, launched into the world, if you will, it would be important for me to be able to talk with them in the language that is today's language.
And students who've shown interest in getting involved have been invited to join the Health and Wellness Committee at Cape Henlopen High School to help future plan events.
We're approaching the first Saturday in May, and that means the 151st Kentucky Derby. You can watch this year's Derby right here on Coast TV. Coverage starts Saturday at 2:30 p.m.
And the time is now 5:51, so we are going to check in with our coastal pet of the day.
Yeah, Lisa, we're bringing Chickpea back because he's still at the Brandywine Valley SPCA.
Aww.
Chickpea is such a cutie pie. This little darling loves to play all day with feathers, loves to push his toys under the door. If you want to adopt Chickpea or any other lovable pet, just head on over to the Brandywine Valley, SPCA.
And we want to see more of your pets on Delmarva. Send us photos and tell us what makes them so special. You can take a look at your screen.
Yeah, scan that QR code at the top. That way you can submit your friends to us and then watch weekdays from 5 to 7 a.m. to see all the pets we feature.
The American healthcare system is getting worse at caring for pregnant women and new mothers, flipping a 2-year trend. The maternal mortality rate for last year rose to 19 deaths per 100,000. That's up from 18.6 in 2023. Maternal mortality is defined as women dying while pregnant or within 42 days of a pregnancy's end. Maternal mortality in the U.S. is one of the highest among wealthy nations.
A new study found phthalates might be much worse than previously known. It shows the chemicals may have contributed to more than 10% of all deaths from heart disease in 2018 in men and women and all over the world. The problem is widely used in the products widely used in plastics, so they're everywhere, and you can find them in food, packaging, clothing, furniture, even toys. Experts say it's best to use glass containers to store food, and use unscented detergent, and fresh fruits are better than canned fruits.
Florida is set to become the second state to ban fluoride from municipal drinking water. Florida Farm Bill prohibits certain additives in drinking water that effectively bans fluoride. State lawmakers passed that bill Tuesday, and it now goes to Governor Ron DeSantis for a signature. The state Surgeon General says more than 70% of Floridians who use community water systems receive fluoride water. Many cities have added fluoride to treat their drinking water for decades to help protect teeth from cavities. That was due to recommendations from both the CDC and the World Health Organization. In March, Utah became the first state to ban fluoride in drinking public water. And the time is now 5:56. We're going to check back in with First Alert meteorologist Bob Trahey.
Yeah, Bob, we're looking at not as much sun today.
Yeah, but a little cooler, which isn't all that bad. You know, we've been talking about the elevated fire danger, so good to see that we will have cooler conditions for today. More in the way of clouds and an east-southeast wind, too. That will be picking up through the day. We're in the 50s, 60s, lower 70s away from the coast, but at the beaches, I think you're stuck in the 60s and feeling much cooler with a raw easterly breeze. Here's your Paul Davis 10-day forecast. So warmth returns on Friday, 84. Could see a few storms into the evening hours. I think most of Saturday is dry, 83. Then the rain builds in on Sunday, 74. And it looks like that rain continues right through Cinco de Mayo into Tuesday, and temperatures in the 70s for highs. We get a break Wednesday, maybe more showers Thursday, and then drier by the end of next week into the weekend.
All right, thanks, Bob. And coming up on our next hour, firefighters face felonies. We have the court hearing scheduled for this morning involving hate crime charges against 2 former members of the Millville Department. That and more when Coast TV News Today continues.